Yuji Itadori is simply a cog in the machine that pushes forward the Jujutsu world. Think of the Jujutsu world as a machine that works to balance the nature of the entire world. When a large power suddenly manifests itself, others are always quickly gonna follow. In the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, every single sorcerer has their own role to play to make this machine run smoothly. Every sorcerer is bonded to this machine and they all have their own roles to act. When someone's born with immense power like Satoru Gojo, the world balances itself out by having other strong opposing threats appear too. When Gojo students like Kinji Ikari, Yuta Akotsu, and even Yuji Itadori appear with high enough potential to push them far beyond a rank above special grade, other strong curse spirits and foes appear as well. It's just simply the world's natural way of maintaining itself, and no one is more aware of this than Yuji Itadori. There was a point where Yuji fully understood his purpose in the Jujutsu world. He knows that in the grand scheme of things, he's just simply nothing special. Yuji doesn't kill curses for vengeance or glory, he exercises curses because that's his duty as a sorcerer. Unlike other protagonists and other shonen, Yuji understands that he's nothing more than just a guy who has to complete his job. But as of currently in the story, Yuji's role in the machine seems to be mostly complete. He's no longer Sukuna's vessel, and he's no longer destined to die like he was in the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen. Aside from exercising curses, Yuji really has no purpose or destiny left in the Jujutsu world. For as long as we've known Yuji, he's never really had any control over his own life. Even something just as small as the club that we're introduced to Yuji in chapter 1, Yuji didn't even sign up for, just like the rest of his life that followed, until now. Yuji is now free of his role of being Sukuna's vessel, and his job as that cog in the machine is complete. In this video, I'll be explaining how Yuji's gonna break the entire machine itself and destroy the very thing that forces those as strong as Satoru Gojo or Ryomen Sukuna to play their own parts. If you'd enjoy more JJK content like this, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because YouTube tells me that 90% of you guys who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so make sure you subscribe and leave some video ideas you want to see be done down below. To fully explain why I think Yuji has to be the one to break this machine, we need to first understand his role in the machine and his role as the cog in the first place. Since the start of the series, it seems like Yuji's life has no agency. He doesn't really get to make his own choices whatsoever. Even Yuji's own birth seems to have been completely orchestrated and planned by Kenjaku. Even in just chapter 1, Yuji's most notable quality is undoubtedly his physical strength, but it doesn't seem like he's gained it through any hard training or any hard work he had to complete. It just seems to be the way that Kenjaku created him. Itadori's own birth and even the event that set him on the path that he follows today as a sorcerer might have been completely fabricated from the very start. Yuji's introduction to the JJK story, from what we can tell, was an accident. He was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time, and the events that followed resulted in the story that we read today. Yuji eating Sukuna's fingers and becoming a vessel was supposedly nothing but luck. Even Megami comments that eating that finger would kill Yuji for sure, but there was a chance, 1 in a million, and that's when the demon of legend Ryomen Sukuna incarnated inside of Yuji Itadori for the first time in 1,000 years. Yuji eating Sukuna's fingers was supposed to be something that Yuji chose to do out of his own free will, but he isn't even so sure of that. Despite Megami being a witness to Yuji's act of selflessness, being fully convinced that Yuji chose this path for himself, it's been clearly set up from the very beginning. From the very start, since his very first decision, Yuji Itadori was born to play the role in this machine as Sukuna's vessel, and I highly doubt that any of it was by coincidence. After becoming Sukuna's vessel, Yuji only lost more and more of his freedom. Becoming a vessel meant that Yuji lost more and more control of his life, literally and also figuratively. His role was to eat the rest of Sukuna's fingers and die along with the King of Curses, surrounded by those he cared for. It's what Yuji considered to be a natural death. Yuji was always destined to die from the very beginning. Even if everything worked out the way he planned perfectly, the final chapter was always going to end in Itadori's death. But he was perfectly content and perfectly okay with his role. All Yuji wanted was to give himself and others what he considered to be natural deaths, and it seemed to be Yuji's only goal for a really long time. However, it seems that at every turn, Yuji failed. Junpei, Nanami, and Gojo all died unnatural deaths. If we take a deeper look, Megami and Nobara's fate are both completely up in the air at the moment, and even those closest to Yuji probably won't receive a natural death and will die all alone. Yuji's desire to give those he cares for a natural death seems like his way of taking back some control of his own life, but what Yuji considers to be natural to himself is something that's unnatural to the Jujutsu world. Being a Jujutsu sorcerer is not a team sport. No matter how many allies you have around you, you always die alone. That's just the death that comes with being a sorcerer. Acting as Sukuna's vessel also meant that Yuji lost control, but more literally. While he could always suppress Sukuna, it was inevitable that he wouldn't stay down forever. Early on in the story, Yuji forms a binding vow with Sukuna. In exchange for repairing the damage caused to Itadori's heart, Sukuna requests 2 things. Just for a minute, Sukuna wants to incarnate inside of Yuji at a random point whenever he wants, but he can't hurt anybody. The second condition was that Yuji would completely forget this binding vow, and the entire conversation would be completely erased from his memory. Ever since this contract was formed, it was clear to everybody in the audience convinced that Yuji was a ticking time bomb. Eventually, at some later point, Sukuna was bound to awaken. Sukuna's binding vow revoked Yuji's own freedom in his own body, and at any second he can lose control and change face. But even while suppressing Sukuna's soul, Yuji still wasn't free. Most people looked at Yuji as a monster. No matter how much good Yuji might potentially bring to the world, many saw that he deserved nothing less than the death penalty. It's not like Yuji received some sort of trial either. Even with Satoru Gojo's vouch, forcing the higher-ups to abide to his decision to keep Yuji alive, they still had attempted to end his life many times illegally under the table. In total, there's been about 3 attempts to take out Yuji Itadori by the higher-ups, completely illegally and completely against Jujutsu regulation. The first was by sending a group of first years to the detention facility, which is what we see in chapter 9, a mission that they were all so clearly unprepared for that seems to be a death wish for any rookie to take on. They also had waited for Satoru Gojo to go away on a business trip because they 110% knew that he would never allow his students to take on this sort of task. The second attempt on Yuji's life was during the Kyoto Goodwill event, where Yuji was secretly the target for a planned assassination, and the third attempt was handled by none other than Yuta Okotsu as Yuji's executioner. Out of the 3 attempts to end Yuji's life by the higher-ups, 2 of them actually succeeded in killing Itadori. Becoming Sukuna's vessel wasn't his decision, and it was planned from the very start. Yuji was always destined to die, but he wanted to die a natural death, and that failed twice. Even his goal to give others a natural death was something he never once achieved. Becoming a vessel for Ryomen Sukuna tied Yuji to his role in the machine, and there was absolutely nothing Yuji can say or do about it. After everything that went down in Shibuya, Yuji's mindset had shifted slightly. Shibuya changed Yuji and broke him down completely. Yuta says that everyone was exhausted after Shibuya, but no one was more tired than Itadori. When Nanami died, along with hundreds of innocent civilians killed by Sukuna, Yuji was ready to take the easy way out. Something that we all love about Yuji is that he'll always move forward. If it's just pain, Yuji will continue to fight to the last hour. For Yuji, this is true in a physical sense, but also in an emotional sense as well. No matter how many hardships you put him through, and no matter who dies around him, Yuji will always keep fighting. When Sukuna finally suppressed himself in Yuji's own body after expanding Malevolent Shrine, Yuji witnessed firsthand from Sukuna's own recollection of the damage he caused to the city. After falling to his knees for a moment, Yuji stood up and continues to move forward to continue with his mission. Even when Nanami died right in front of him, Yuji doesn't waste a single second and charges at Mahito and continues on to his next fight. When Obara was taken out by Mahito, I don't think anybody seriously doubted for a second that Yuji Itadori was gonna stay down and not continue to move forward. After Shibuya, Yuji understood and became aware of the machine and realized that he's nothing more than just a cog. He saw himself as just another gear that's pushing the machine. Yuji will continue his duty as a sorcerer because that's his job. He believes that maybe in 100 years, his actions today will be apparent, but in the grand scheme of things, he's nothing special. He's come to terms with the lack of control in his life, and he's aware that the world has its own natural way of doing things, and he plans to do his part. When taking a look at other individuals who are also tied to this machine, it's no wonder why Yuji considers himself to be nothing special. If we take a look at Satoru Gojo, whose role at one point was to literally be the strongest, it also serves as his own identity crisis, and it's why Geto questions if Gojo's the person he is today because it's the person he wants to be, or if that's simply the way the world destined Gojo to act. Another example is Sukuna, and Sukuna understands that he also has his own role to play as the strongest, and he chooses to fill that role by being the person who will return the love from those weaker than himself with his own type of love. Both Gojo and Sukuna have their own roles to act, and it's not power that determines if you have your own cog in the machine. In fact, it's actually the opposite. It's not those with the most powerful jujutsu who get to step away from their roles, it's the people who are completely disconnected from it. Toji Zenin was able to literally break fate because he existed as an anomaly. The Six Eyes, Tengen, and the Star Plasma Vessel are all said to be tied together by fate. Certain events surrounding these individuals have all played out the same, time and time again, because of fate. But Toji was a person without cursed energy, without a tie to that fate. Toji existed outside of the machine and outside of the jujutsu world. He's not binded to play a role similar to those with cursed energy, and he can even break the chain of events and the natural order of the way things are supposed to be. We can clearly see that those without a role and those without strong ties to jujutsu can change the balance of the world, not those with insane strength like Gojo or Sukuna. What makes Yuji Itadori so special in this case is that the role he seems that he was destined to play since birth has now disappeared. He's no longer Sukuna's vessel, the thing that he was always meant to be, and his part in the machine to die one day doesn't exist anymore. Yuji's fate is no longer predetermined, and for the first time in Yuji's entire life, he's now able to make decisions for himself. He's no longer important to Sukuna at all, and his purpose has been lived out, and according to Sukuna, he's not even worth killing. Yuji doesn't seem to be playing a part in anybody else's plan plans but his own. He's no longer tied to fate, and it makes him the perfect catalyst to break the machine completely. Yuji Itadori can change the entire nature of the world, and he's finally free. The only goal that Yuji has right now is to take down Ryomen Sukuna, and he's ready to do whatever he needs to complete that goal. Taking a look at his last round against Sukuna, Yuji was clearly on the back foot, especially during the interactions with Maki. Yuji gets tagged multiple times where Maki simply doesn't. Maki even ends up asking Yuji if she can increase her speed, probably out of fear that when she ramps up her speed, Yuji simply won't be able to keep up with her. It's important to keep in mind, however, that this Sukuna was only at 15 fingers worth of his original power, and his cursed energy output was heavily restricted. Sukuna's curse technique was so nullified that it couldn't even cut through Yuji, and each one of those slashing attacks are nowhere near their full power. It becomes even crazier if we compare it to slashing attacks that we see from Sukuna today, ones that are literally capable of completely slicing down Satoru Gojo. So looking at anything that we can see from now points to the idea that if Yuji wasn't already completely outclassed before, he stands no chance against the Sukuna that's around today. As of recording this video, Sukuna is finally back in his true form. After fully incarnating as a means of restoring his body against Kashimo, what came out the smoke was a Heian era Sukuna who truly looks like the king of all curses. It doesn't even just stop there, because Sukuna also further developed his slashing attacks against Satoru Gojo, where they're no longer just slashes, but slashes that can literally cut the world itself. Even Gojo's Infinity, a barrier that creates an infinite amount of space at all times, couldn't stop Sukuna from reaching him. But even with an impossible mountain to climb, I'm still personally willing to bet on Yuji Itadori. Yuji still has insane levels of potential that have yet to be fully manifested or even explored. Even aside from the fact that very few in general have ever had the potential to surpass the strongest sorcerer in the modern era one day, being placed with Kinji Ikari and Yuta Akotsu speaks a lot about Yuji's potential. Yuta is supposed to be the second strongest sorcerer to Satoru Gojo in the modern era, and Ikari in some cases is supposed to be even stronger than him. Also, Gojo mentioned that Yuji one day had the power to surpass him after only seeing Yuji a few times. He was only judging the very first performances in the beginning of the series and absolutely nothing else. Just from seeing everything from before the mission to the detention facility, Gojo's sure that Yuji has some insane power waiting to be brought out. Gojo had mentioned later on that a big majority of a sorcerer's potential comes from their innate technique. The techniques that a sorcerer is given at birth can completely define their potential. But Yuji, of course, wasn't born with a cursed technique and instead was blessed with insane physical power. Even extremely early on, Yuji's physicals are so impressive that Megami considers the possibility that he's born with a heavenly restriction, just like Maki and Toji Zenin, a gift that has the potential to grant both of these characters completely unparalleled levels of physical strength. There is a possibility that in the future, Yuji can inherit Sukuna's curse technique, just like Gojo said earlier, as a byproduct of being his vessel, but even now in the manga, it's just a possibility. As it stands right now, all Yuji is something similar to a cursed object that's been dipped in Sukuna's cursed energy. Coming as far as he did without a curse technique is extremely impressive to say the least, and it's all because of Yuji's insane ability to grow massively in very short periods of time. After only being a sorcerer for a few months, Yuji was already performing on the level of a grade 1 sorcerer. He's a first year student that was fighting alongside Nanami, Meimei, and even compared to Kusakabe in just his first year of learning about cursed energy. Before the Goodwill event, Yuji didn't even know how to consciously flow his cursed energy throughout his body, but by the end, he was landing black flashes. Even landing one black flash would have been impressive enough, but Yuji landed multiple. We've never really seen anybody who's able to pull off multiple black flashes except for a very few amount of people, and one of them being Satoru Gojo himself. The black flashes also gave Yuji that unparalleled understanding of cursed energy, at least compared to those who have never felt the sparks of black. His determination is so high that even though no sorcerer alive can land a black flash at will, Yuji can make you think he's doing just that. If we take a look at the recent chapters of JJK, Yuji has finally stepped foot on the battlefield. Yuji has finally entered his next fight, and he's clearly not going alone. He's now fighting alongside Kinji Ikari and Higuruma, and he's finally facing off against the King of Curses. And just by judging from the last time that we've seen Yuji, his appearance has clearly changed, but just a bit. His arms and fingers seems to have completely changed and manifested into some sort of claw and armor-like arms. Both Yuji's forearms and hands seem to be completely different than any other time we've ever seen Itadori before. We still don't know exactly why this change happened, but if one thing is clear to me, in the last month that we didn't see Itadori, he's clearly been developing some sort of skill and he's been training his body to take down Ryomen Sukuna. Yuji is well aware that even fighting a Sukuna at just 15 fingers worth of his original power is certainly a death wish, so I highly doubt he entered the battlefield with Higuruma without a plan to take down the King of Curses, especially seeing him back in his true Heian era form. Now that Gojo's gone, it's time for his students to step up and take his place. And just like Gojo had mentioned in the beginning of the story, Yuji Itadori is no exception. Now that Yuji is finally free and he doesn't have to play the role that he was destined to play, for the first time, his decisions aren't playing a part in anybody else's plans but his own. I'm willing to bet on Yuji Itadori to break the balance and end the way that things are supposed to be naturally, and in doing so, Yuji will change the very nature of things like Sorcerer's fate of dying alone to having natural deaths the way that Yuji always desired.